Rangers fans, what a weekend that was, and not in the way we were all hoping. When the dust settled, when the noise faded and the table refreshed, the uncomfortable truth hit home. The biggest winners were not in blue. Hearts sit at the summit now, 6 points clear, and they will be looking at this title race thinking it is firmly in their hands. When the old firm take points off each other, it is always someone else who smiles the widest. Right now, that is Hearts. There is still football to be played, there are still twists to come, and the post-split fixtures will test everyone. But let us be honest with ourselves. A 6-point gap at this stage is significant. It means Hearts need to stumble more than once, and it means Rangers must find a level of consistency that, particularly away from home, we simply have not shown. That is the reality facing this club as we wake up on Monday. The margin for error is gone. Rangers cannot afford another slip, another half performance, another tactical misstep. And that is what makes yesterday so frustrating. Because for 45 minutes we saw exactly what this team is capable of. It was intense, aggressive, brave. Rangers pressed high, hunted in packs, forced mistakes, and pinned Celtic back. The energy was relentless. Every second ball mattered. Every challenge was contested, and Celtic looked rattled. They were forced into rushed clearances, they struggled to build from the back, and they could not cope with the tempo. If you were watching that first half, you would have believed Rangers were in complete control of the occasion. It felt like one of those afternoons where the bell for halftime arrived at just the right moment for the opposition. Celtic were under serious pressure. Rangers had two strikers working tirelessly, closing down passing lanes, making it uncomfortable for their backline to settle. The movement up front was clever and coordinated. There was support from midfield, there was bite in the tackles, and there was purpose in possession. The game plan was clear and, more importantly, it was working. That is why the second half is so difficult to accept, because the contrast could not have been sharper. As the second period unfolded, the momentum began to shift. Celtic made adjustments. They introduced fresh legs, tweaked their shape, and started to find more space between the lines. This is where management earns its stripes. When the opposition changes something, you have to respond. You cannot stand still in a match of this magnitude. Rangers, unfortunately, did not react quickly enough. Around the 50-minute mark, you could see Celtic gaining confidence, enjoying longer spells on the ball, and beginning to push Rangers back. That was the warning sign. That was the moment to act decisively. The substitution that followed has become the main talking point, and understandably so. Taking off one of the strikers and adding an extra body in midfield may have made sense on paper, but football is not played on paper. It is about balance and understanding how your system functions. In the first half, the two forwards were essential to the press. They split the center halves, they harried the full backs, and they set the tone. Once that partnership was broken, the entire structure of the press changed. Asking a single striker to replicate the workload of two is unrealistic. It leaves gaps, it reduces pressure, and it invites the opposition to play through you. What compounded the issue was that Rangers did not alter the style to suit the new shape. If you remove a striker and add a midfielder, you must either become more controlled in possession or adjust the pressing triggers. Instead, Rangers attempted to continue playing in the same direct manner, still trying to move the ball forward quickly, still pushing high, but without the manpower to execute it properly. The result was a disconnect. The lone striker became isolated, the midfield was stretched, and Celtic were suddenly able to build from the back with far less resistance. You could see it unfolding phase by phase. Celtic defenders had more time to pick passes. Their midfielders began receiving the ball facing forward. Rangers, who had been dictating the tempo, were now reacting. The intensity dipped just enough to make a difference. And at this level, that slight drop is all it takes. It is not about effort or desire. It is about structure and clarity. When the system no longer matches the personnel on the pitch, confusion creeps in. That is what we witnessed. There is also a broader issue that cannot be ignored. This has become a pattern of two halves. Strong starts followed by spells where control slips away. That speaks not only to tactics, but to game management and mentality. Leadership on the park becomes crucial in those moments. Someone has to grab the team, slow it down, demand composure, or alternatively reignite the press with conviction. Too often, Rangers seem caught between protecting what they have and pushing for more. That hesitation is costly. Credit must be given to Celtic for capitalizing. They sensed the shift and grew into the contest. Experience in their technical area showed as well. Adjustments were made with purpose, and the players responded. For Rangers, the lesson is harsh but clear. If you change personnel, you must change the approach. You cannot expect the same patterns to deliver the same outcome when the structure has altered. That is a learning curve for any manager, particularly at a club where expectations are relentless. Now attention turns to the upcoming Cup clash, another meeting with Celtic that carries enormous weight. It offers a chance at redemption, but it also presents a psychological test. Celtic will arrive with renewed belief after clawing their way back. Rangers must ensure the first half performance becomes the standard, not the exception. The aggression, the cohesion, the bravery in pressing high up the pitch, that is the blueprint. The challenge this week is to analyze honestly, to correct the tactical misjudgments, and to ensure that when the next key moment arrives, the response is swift and decisive, because in a season where the league title is slipping from reach, the margin for error in the Cup feels even thinner. There is also a deeper conversation that needs to be had about mentality, because tactics alone do not explain everything we witnessed. When the momentum began to swing, Rangers looked like a side unsure of how to wrestle it back. That uncertainty spreads quickly on a pitch. One misplaced pass leads to hesitation, one lost duel leads to retreat, and suddenly the team that was dictating proceedings is camped inside its own half. The first half showed bravery without the ball and conviction with it. The second half showed a group that, whether through fatigue or doubt, lost that sharp edge. At this level in Scotland, especially in matches of this magnitude, you cannot afford that drop. The away form continues to hover over this squad like a shadow. It is one thing to dominate at Ibrox with the crowd driving every tackle and every press. It is another to impose yourself consistently when the atmosphere is hostile and the opposition sense vulnerability. Title-winning sides embrace those moments. They silence stadiums, they slow games down when required, and they show a ruthless streak. Rangers, at present, are still searching for that identity. There are flashes of it, absolutely, but not enough to sustain a genuine title charge over the long haul. When you analyze the table now, 6 points is not just a number. It represents dropped opportunities, late concessions, and matches where control slipped through our fingers. Hearts deserve enormous credit for their consistency. They have taken advantage of the old firm canceling each other out and have shown a resilience that Rangers must now rediscover quickly. For Rangers to bridge that gap, perfection would almost be required from here on in. That means grinding out results even when performances are not sparkling. It means managing games with maturity. It means understanding when to press and when to protect. Another element that stood out yesterday was the lack of adaptability once the original plan stopped functioning. Football matches evolve constantly. The best sides anticipate those shifts and prepare multiple solutions. If the high press begins to falter, can you transition into a compact mid-block? If the lone striker is isolated, can you adjust the midfield spacing to support him? These are the in-game details that separate good teams from great ones. Rangers have the individual talent, but cohesion under pressure is still a work in progress. There were moments after falling behind where urgency replaced clarity. Balls were played forward too quickly, possession was surrendered cheaply, and Celtic were allowed to control the rhythm. Protecting a lead requires composure. Chasing a game requires controlled aggression. Rangers seemed caught between those two states, neither fully committing to one nor the other. That indecision is costly in derby football. The margins are tiny, and once confidence shifts, it is incredibly difficult to reverse. It would be unfair to lay everything at the manager's door, because players must take responsibility on the pitch. Leaders have to emerge in those challenging passages. Communication has to increase, not decrease. Yet it is also true that guidance from the technical area sets the tone. Clear instructions, visible adjustments, and timely substitutions send a message to the team. When that clarity is absent, uncertainty creeps in. The learning curve at a club of this size is steep. Every decision is magnified, every change dissected. That is the reality of managing Rangers. Looking ahead to the Cup encounter, the psychological dimension cannot be overstated. This is not just about tactics on a whiteboard. It is about belief. Rangers must enter that match convinced that the first half display is repeatable over 90 minutes. Training this week has to focus on maintaining intensity beyond the break, on rehearsing alternative shapes, on drilling patterns that allow the side to retain control when under pressure. The players must understand that small lapses have big consequences. Supporters will travel and watch with hope, but also with expectation. They have seen what this team can produce. They have seen the aggressive press, the sharp movement, the willingness to take risks. What they demand now is consistency. Not perfection, but consistency. If Rangers can marry the energy of that opening 45 minutes with smarter game management in the second half, there is still silverware to be fought for. The cup might represent the clearest path, but it will require a complete performance. There is no hiding from the fact that the league challenge has grown more complicated. Relying on other results while trying to maintain your own winning streak is a dangerous combination. Rangers must focus solely on their own standards. Control what can be controlled. Build momentum one match at a time. Rediscover the resilience that has defined successful eras in the past. That resilience is not about speeches or slogans. It is about actions on the pitch when fatigue sets in and pressure mounts. Ultimately, this moment in the season feels pivotal. It can either deepen doubts or galvanize the squad. The frustration from yesterday should fuel improvement, not division. Lessons must be absorbed quickly. Adjustments must be visible. Because in Scottish football, especially when competing at the very top, hesitation is punished and momentum is everything. Rangers have shown they can seize it. The challenge now is proving they can hold it when it matters most, sustaining that drive from the first whistle to the last, and ensuring that when the next defining match arrives, the response reflects a side that has learned, adapted, and grown stronger from adversity. There is also the physical aspect to consider, because maintaining that relentless press for an entire match demands elite conditioning and intelligent rotation. When the tempo dipped in the second half, it was not only tactical. It looked like a side that had emptied the tank early and did not recalibrate. Managing energy across 90 minutes is part of modern football at the highest level. It is about knowing when to accelerate and when to circulate possession to draw the sting out of the opposition. Rangers went full throttle early on, which thrilled the support and unsettled Celtic. But without the right adjustments, that intensity became difficult to sustain. The coaching staff must evaluate whether the structure allows the players to conserve just enough to remain sharp in the closing stages. Another key factor is decision-making in critical moments. Big matches often hinge on a handful of choices: a pass instead of a shot, a clearance instead of a risky touch, a tactical foul to halt a counterattack. In the first half, Rangers made the right calls repeatedly. In the second, hesitation crept in. The speed of thought slowed ever so slightly, and Celtic capitalized. Developing a ruthless edge requires not only confidence, but repetition. The squad must internalize the scenarios that arise in these fixtures so that responses become instinctive rather than reactive. That level of sharpness is built on the training ground and reinforced through experience. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The East End has been buzzing with a whisper that feels heavier than any derby tackle, a rumor that cuts right through the soul of the city. Word doing the rounds of Lennoxtown and Ibrox alike suggests that Kieran Tierney could be on the brink of a move so seismic it would rattle the old firm to its core. The talk is that a 3-season deal has been quietly agreed across the divide, a move that, if it comes to pass, would be seen by many as nothing short of betrayal. Tierney's story has long been woven into the fabric of Celtic, a local lad who grew up dreaming of the hoops and carried that weight with pride. That is precisely why the mere suggestion of him pulling on blue has sparked disbelief, anger, and, in some corners, grim acceptance that modern football spares no sentiment. Insiders claim conversations have been happening behind closed doors, framed as a footballing decision rather than an emotional one, yet few believe such a line would soften the blow. Across the city, there's a different hum. At Rangers, the speculation is being greeted with cautious excitement. Those close to the club speak of ambition, of leadership, and of a statement signing that would signal intent without saying a word. They insist nothing is official, only that discussions are at an advanced stage and that a long-term commitment has been floated as the right balance between faith and flexibility. What makes the rumor linger is the silence. No outright denials, no clarifying words, just a vacuum where imagination thrives. In Glasgow, silence is rarely accidental. Fans on both sides are left to read between the lines, weighing loyalty against career, history against the hard edge of the game. Until someone breaks cover, the city will keep talking, because some rumors refuse to die, especially when they strike at the heart. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.